This episode holds a bit of a unique place for me, in that half the episode I absolutely loved, it was amazing. The other half seemed like it should have been tacked on to the previous episode, and I'm kind of indifferent to it as not much happened. In the overall episode even, not much happened in terms of plot progression. However, that being said, there were definitely things that were revealed and that happened that we have been waiting on, that have relevance, and that might lead to something in the future. So that being said, spoiler warnings for those who haven't seen the episode just yet. I'm not going to be showing the episode or clips from it in this video, but for those who don't mind the spoilers, I will be showing images of what happens in the episode as well as analyses based on that. So, the episode continues on immediately where the last episode left off. They're all fighting the giant mech. Missile is fired off at the airship and RWBY can easily snipe it out of the air. That, of course, draws Cordovan's attention, and she turns the giant cannon right towards RWBY and fires ice dust this time. Weiss, however, or I guess Maria, brings the ship around real quick. Weiss gets in there and blocks it using earth dust, which is the first time I think we've seen her use earth or rock dust, and she creates a giant rock wall, blocks the ice dust, gives them actually a little bit of a barrier. And it's actually Jean, the, I guess, strategist of the group, who points out exactly what I pointed out in my last episode upon first seeing the mech. It's not built for what it's being used for. Jean says it looks like it's built for fighting giant seafaring Grimm, like the giant serpent we saw back in Volume 4? Yeah, it was when Blake was going to Menagerie. So it's meant for giant sea Grimm, not for fighting individual personnel units. So they come up with a plan, make multiple targets, because of course with many personnel and she only has one arm that's an actual weapon, it's going to be very easy to distract her. So Team Junior, Nora, Jean, and Ren go one direction, the airship goes the other, and then RWBY and Crow hop up in the air. RWBY fires again, one bullet, and that's all it takes to crack the glass screen that Cordovan's looking through in the actual mech. RWBY then hops down and starts running across first the missiles and then ice, I guess, small little icebergs that Weiss created so that they can get across. Nora starts barraging the mech with her grenade launcher, and we see that the mech actually has a shield, which is blocking all of Nora's shots. A lot of good it did against that one bullet that RWBY had, though. If she really wanted to start sniping, she could probably just snipe the same spot a couple times and be able to get through that glass if one bullet already did that much damage. But hey, I guess maybe Nora's grenades are more dust-based, whereas RWBY's bullets might be just metal-based and can block dust. But Cordovan mentions an interesting thing about what the shield is and what Atlas Technology's specialty is, or one of its specialties, in hard light dust. That is very interesting. Crystallized light into dust that can actually make a physical shield. That's interesting, and I look forward to seeing what applications of hard light dust, I'm guessing there might be hard dark dust as well, or other elements that we may not think of just out of the blue. So I look forward to seeing what other types of dust come out of it, and with that, the mech fires a few earth dust shots off from the cannon, which create spire clusters in the ground that would look like they'd impale you, even if they just landed close and didn't hit you directly. So that one's pretty dangerous. Crow took that chance to actually attack the mech and fire a few shots off after stabbing it in the back. It's nice to see him back in action, fighting again. Hopefully he won't go back to his drinking binge, but we'll have to wait and see. Weiss takes the chance that Crow provided by distracting the mech to actually create some ice pillars in the water and knock it off balance. She summons the Queen Lancer at that point, and the mech actually falls back onto the ground, shaking the entire city of Argus. At that point, Ren is able to climb onto the mech, and they are going for, well, the weakness of the mech. RWBY even pointed out in the episode that, well, in most video games, it's always on the back of the giant robot where the weakness is, and lo and behold, that's where the weakness was. Ren is able to climb on, and even as the mech's getting reoriented, he's, using his weapons to climb around the back of it. He finds a panel, and upon ripping it off, it just gives the giant bullseye. Property of Atlas, the shield generator, only can be touched by Atlas technicians. of course you want to label the most sensitive part of the robot. So Ren and Crow take out the robot very, very easily, or take out the shield, I should say, of the robot by just shooting that. Nora then starts off her barrage again by shooting her grenade launcher, but it ends up jamming, and the mech takes advantage of that and swings the giant arm. And it does hit her. John, however, jumped at the last minute and used his aura amplification to protect Nora, but they both got hit pretty darn hard. Ren and Crow, who had jumped onto the Queen Lancer that Weiss had summoned as well, they're a bit freaked out by this and end up getting hit by a cannon shot, which destroys the Queen Lancer that Weiss had summoned and leaves RWBY stranded on the side of the cliff, hanging on to Crescent Rose, everyone else on top of the cliff, and then Maria, or Cordovan, ends up pointing the giant cannon at RWBY, about to execute her. So the only ones left who could fight are the actual airship, so Maria goes in, launches a rocket, and then this part confuses me a little bit. Instead of firing the cannon, which Cordovan was already charging up, the rocket is fired from this little airship, which the rocket itself probably would not have done much to the mech if Nora's grenades weren't doing much to begin with. This rocket wasn't that much bigger from the ship, but what the mech does is it reaches out, grabs that small rocket from the ship with its open hand, and then turns and throws it back at the ship, which lands a hit, and from what we see at this point, the ship is going down. That's the first half of the episode, and then it cuts to something else, but I want to talk about this first. The mech is not only fast enough to grab a rocket, depending on how fast the rocket was traveling. If it's slow, I mean, RWBY was able to run on them, everything, so sure, she was able to grab the rocket, but grab it that quickly and that gently that it didn't crush it, and then throw it accurately enough to hit the ship, to hit a small airship where the giant cannon didn't even hit it, it only grazed it with the electric shot in the last episode. That just seems a bit far-fetched to me, especially grabbing that rocket and throwing it, because the rockets are supposed to explode on impact. If a giant mech grabbing it like that doesn't explode it, then I creative liberty, I guess, that's just stands out a little bit to me. And also, because of this entire thing, I have lost quite a bit of respect for Cordovan. Yeah, she was eccentric, but she was a military personnel and followed that. She was a little bit arrogant, you know, thinking Atlas military is above all and everything, but this is above and beyond. I thought in the previous episode, yeah, the mech is overkill. Why the hell are you doing that? You could just scramble the airships and have this over with very quickly, but no, she had to bring out the giant mech. And now she's even going crazier with it, and just by the fact of it being knocked over, falling against the cliff, and shaking all of the city of Argus. We already saw, when it showed that little clip of the people in Argus, they're like, what the hell just happened? The ground just shook. She's creating panic by being this arrogant. So we all know what panic's gonna bring, right? And especially since John pointed out, this is the anti-sea Grimm, or for Giant Grimm from the sea. I'm guessing that implies already what is going to happen in the next 2 episodes. Probably a giant Grimm's going to show up. If they succeed in taking out this giant mech before the Grimm shows up, then they're going to be kind of screwed and have no way to blast it to smithereens, so it's going to be a bit more of a difficult fight. And I don't know if Cordovan's keeping her job after this. But that being said, the overall first half of the episode should have just been tacked onto the previous one. I know for time constraints and everything, they had to do things differently to time it correctly. Hopefully the finale is going to be a bit longer, but this one, really not much happened. The airship got hit and went down. A shield went up on the overall mech, and then it went down. That's it. That's pretty much what happened in the first half. Yeah, it was a cool little scene and everything, but not much happened. The second half, however, was fantastic. Mostly fighting, mostly fight scenes, but amazing, and I highly recommend watching it in the actual episode because it was fantastic. Starts off with Adam and Blake. Adam's chasing after Blake. Blake's, you know, running a little bit. Of course, Adam accuses her of that, but she's not actually running. It looks like she's just trying to get to a clearing a safer place, especially considering in the trees it doesn't seem like she's able to maneuver or fight that well, because she doesn't get hit, but she does actually lose the white coat that she was characteristically wearing throughout volumes 4, 5, and 6 so far. But she's actually looking pretty good without the coat. And at one point, once they get to the clearing, Adam does get the upper hand, and he is actually about to go execute Blake. She's lying on the ground, and he gets his sword, he gets Wilt, and is about to strike. And, you know I said that not much happens plot-wise, or plot progression-wise, and I'm true about that. I was honest. But we do, at this point, get actually a death of a character or something in the series that we have known since Volume 1. Gamble Shroud gets cut in half. Gamble Shroud is now dead, which opens up the possibility that Blake might get a new weapon. Gamble Shroud might be repaired, but currently the blade of Gamble Shroud is broken. She still has the sheath that it was in, which is a weapon in and of itself, so that's useful, but it's sad to see that Gamble Shroud has been broken. It's interesting, though, that maybe multiple characters will get new weapons throughout the series. I really love it when anime and other shows do that. Adam, at this point, goes on to say, I've been hurt before, but no one hurt me like you did, saying that to Blake. And he's saying this as he removes his blindfold. And we see why, or one of the reasons he was wearing the blindfold and wore the mask. Because he has scars. As a lot of us thought, he had scars or something had been done to him. Maybe he was blind because he was wearing a blindfold. It was weird how he can fight with that, and I'm still curious as to how, but he has the letters SOC branded on his face. It looks like his left eye is blind, even though when he's looking around, it's still following where he's looking, so maybe he can see out of it a little bit, but he's got some real injuries. So that adds an added effect as to why he wears the mask, and definitely gives credence to why he hates humans, if it was a human who did that to him. And maybe it means that he was a slave of someone as well. But I'm not... Hopefully it'll lead to something as to what SOC means, because I wasn't able to find anything about that. Let me know what your guys' ideas are down in the comments below. What does SOC mean? Is it like slaves of something? Was he part of like a Faunus slave trade at some point? Or I don't know. I'm interested to see what it leads to, if it will maybe not lead to something this season, since there's only 2 episodes left, but later down the line, it might lead to something, and I'd like to know what SOC meant. What gave Adam his drive for vengeance against humans and everything like that. I want to know more about Adam and his past. And then Adam goes to stab Blake, saying that you didn't leave scars, you just left me alone. How does it feel to be alone? But she's not alone. She can hear Bumblebee coming. She knows Yang is coming, and this time she's actually able to dodge Adam's stab, unlike she was at the fall of Beacon. Yang does show up, flying off a cliff with Bumblebee, and rams Adam with Bumblebee. And Bumblebee goes flying off of the cliff into the water. So is Bumblebee gone now too? Everyone's losing their accessories. But at that point, Blake is a little bit too injured or worn out from her fight with Adam, so Yang takes over, and holy crap, this fight between Yang and Adam. Adam shows some new abilities, I guess, that we haven't seen before. It looks like he's able to create temporary clones of himself as he's fighting Yang, which, similar to Blake's semblance, I don't know how this relates to his. It's just incredible the amount that this fight does, and the animation style of it is absolutely amazing. And it's impressive to me how well Yang is able to block Adam's sword strikes, because she's used to blocking with her arms up like this, especially in one scene where Adam strikes, I think, 3 times, just quick drawing his sword, but she's guarding like this and her head's down. So if that's the case, then why not just lower one of the strikes to the shins, and that would kind of work? But I guess in his anger, he kind of lost it, and, Blake explains his semblance. He can absorb damage with his sword and amplify it and return it. Yang calls that cheap because he don't even have to feel the damage to be able to do that. But Adam charges up a last strike and slams it into the ground. Instead of actually striking someone with it or releasing a sword beam, he slams it into the ground, and holy crap does it look powerful. Yang just stands there and blocks it like this. You'd think if it's coming from the ground, again, that it would do more damage and strike more than just the arm, but I guess it was more of a slash attack going across the ground. Again, the physics of it, not 100% sure, but still, it leaves a few scratch marks on Yang's arm, and Yang just turns to Adam and says, just leave. You know what? Just leave us alone. Just go away. But her hand's still shaking. Adam notices this, and Blake then takes Yang's hand and says, you know what? She's not protecting me. I'm not protecting her. We're protecting each other. That, I'm pretty sure, is what Blake had kind of meant to say before, back at Bartleby's farm, at Brunswick Farms, where Yang kind of got pissed at her for just saying, for Blake saying, you know, I'll protect you. It wasn't what she meant, because she knew that Yang would protect her as well. They're protecting each other, and now I'm hoping that they're finally going to be able to move past this and become close again like they were back in the original Volume 2, Volume 3. So at that point, that's where the episode ends. They're confidently standing up to Adam, and again, they're still fighting Adam. It's just Yang and Blake versus Adam now. We have Adam's scars revealed. We see his face, and Gamble Shroud and Bumblebee have been lost. Again, not much plot progression, but still a very good episode, and I am looking forward to rewatching it again, because that fight is amazing. But anyways, I touched on a lot of the things I wanted to analyze throughout the video. You know, Cordovan going a bit insane, causing panic, probably going to draw a Grimm for the finale, the hard light dust, Adam's scars, SOC, what could they possibly mean? I'm leaning towards maybe slave of something that starts with a C, if he was involved in the slave trade or something like that. Again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, but there are still a couple things that I want to touch on. The hard light dust, first and foremost, it makes me think that the weapons in the RWBY world, or at least the bullets themselves, are actually made of metal. They're not made of dust. The ignition source, instead of gunpowder, is dust, but the projectile itself is metal. Hence it can't be blocked by dust. Nora's weapons, however, being grenade launchers, they're exploding pink, guessing they're made of dust, so it seems likely that the dust shield, made of hard light dust, can block dust, but not weapons, because RWBY's sniper bullet was able to get to that glass with no issue. Didn't have to pierce the shield or anything. Same with Crow. He was able to fly in, just land on the thing, and pop a couple bullets into it, not to mention it was just able to slash it with his scythe. So, it seems that, or at least my theory is that light, or the dust, can only block dust, etc., etc. Might make a separate video on that as we learn more, but we'll end up having to see. Cordovan, as I mentioned, causing panic. What type of Grimm do you think is going to be drawn at the end of this volume? Like, maybe there won't be a Grimm drawn, because we haven't seen Cinder or Neo or Hazel yet, or Roman, if he's coming back, but what do you guys think is going to happen for the finale? Because there's only 2 episodes left, episodes 12, episode 13, so we're going to have to get Cinder and Neo probably next episode. If it's not next episode, then I don't think we're getting enough Neo screen time, so it's probably going to be next episode that they're going to arrive there, and what the finale is actually going to be. Because if it was just Cinder, Neo, Hazel that they ended up having to fight after they fought this mech, then I don't know. They'd be pretty outnumbered. Neo, Cinder, and Hazel, that being, would be pretty outnumbered. I don't know how well that fight would go. Adam is occupying Blake and Yang, but with a Grimm mixed in there as well, that would create much more of a dramatic scene or a more complicated situation where the military, now they were fighting each other, but now they have to, you know, kind of be on the same side to fight against the giant Grimm that shows up, as well as the people attacking the town, and well, they're more attacking Team RWBY, but they're still not really caring about the townspeople themselves, so we'll see where it goes. Let me know what you guys think as well. And last thing is that with the airship going down, if it did indeed go down, they are not actually going to make it to Atlas on that airship. Maybe they'll be able, someone at the Atlas base was able to radio out to Atlas home base that something's going wrong, people are trying to steal airships, get over here, or that Weiss Schnee was coming to go home. So maybe Ironwood himself is going to fly in, and see everyone that's there. That's where the finale is going to end off. That's my guess, at least. I don't know exactly how they're going to get to Atlas at this point, other than that, because even if they do help the military defending or defeating the criminals that are attacking the town and help defeat the giant Grimm that shows up, well, military's still going to go after them because they did steal an airship. They are enemies of the military. They have done not nice things. So let me know what you guys think as to what's going to happen over the next 2 episodes, what you thought of this episode, how you felt about Adam's scars. Like, I feel he's an amazing character, and he's got a lot of backstory. I wouldn't even mind seeing a spin-off series of him, even if it's just 1 season, of how he learned the skills that he's learned, went through the suffering that he's had, and grew into the character that he is. Even if it's a spin-off series following a villain, I would still love that. But hey, let me know what you guys think, what you guys are looking forward to, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next video.